Morning folks. So today I have my doctor's appointment, so I want to update you about that when I'm back. And it's a bit confusing because I was going to make a video about my doctor's last week because I went to see my doctor last week, but I didn't see my doctor because he was called away, so I saw his assistant. So I was going to update you about that, about how it all went, and then randomly on Friday I got a message from my doctor saying, sorry I couldn't see you last time, do you want to see me on Monday? Confusing. So of course I said yes, because he seemed to have some really good ideas, and as good as it was to see the assistant, it'd be nice to see my doctor. Anyway, this is a huge waffle to tell you that once I'm up, washed and dressed, been to the doctor's, come back, I'll update you on everything that's going on with my very strange health. Hey folks, it's Finn. Welcome back, lovely people. I have literally just got home from the doctor's, so I want to make this video now while it's all fresh in my mind, because there is a lot to tell you. There is so much going on with all these symptoms I'm having at the moment. There's chronic fatigue, there's headaches, sweating, palpitations. It is a big, confusing mess. So there's a lot to tell you after talking about with my doctor, which I'm going to do now, so this might be a bit of a waffle. But first, I just wanted to say a quick hello and welcome to all the new people I keep seeing around my channel at the moment. There's loads of comments from new names I haven't seen before, and I love that. I really love that people are still finding my channel and subscribing, so thank you and welcome. And please do remember to subscribe so that you get notified when I upload any new content and to become part of the Finn fam. I do share videos about all sorts of things, about being transgender, LGBT, mental health. At the moment, most of my content is around some health issues I'm having, because I very much share very honestly about what's going on for me. And right now, it's all about these very strange symptoms I'm having and working out what they are and what we're going to do next. Are you ready for a Finn download? Okay, so if you follow me on my social media, you'll know that just over a week ago, I actually had an appointment with the doctor. I have a new doctor because I've just moved to Plymouth, so I was going to meet this brand new doctor. I'd already shared lots of what was going on with me over email, and I sent him a list of all my symptoms because it is quite complex, and I do have a very complex health history in terms of being an addict in recovery, of having lots of mental health diagnoses, of being transgender, and I realised that it all is very confusing, so I thought it would help to do that. And this new doctor was great, and he said it was brilliant to get all this information, was looking forward to meeting me. But when I got to the appointment, he'd been called away because of some COVID emergency, and I saw his assistant, and she was very nice. But I can't lie, it was a bit disappointing to not see the doctor that I'd been conversing with. But she was great. We talked about what was going on, and there was a few things she relayed that he'd suggested. One of which was that I've got hypothyroidism, and we've been investigating that, thinking that the reason all these symptoms are ongoing is because something about my thyroid still isn't right. But in having all of my blood tests done, there is nothing underlying the thyroid, no Hashimoto's, no Graves' disease, all the other things that can contribute to a thyroid condition. So it doesn't look like it's the thyroid, but he was suggesting, and this is what the assistant passed on, that I might have some kind of leftover hypothyroidism, like my brain had not let myself forget that I was medicated, and so I was still having symptoms. Yeah, I wasn't too sure about that one. The other suggestion was that even though I've had a full hysterectomy, everything's gone in there, that perhaps the process of going through hormone replacement for me had caused some kind of problems in my body that was presenting a little bit like menopause with the sweating and the palpitations. So we could possibly look at a medication for that, with the help obviously first of some research and talking to our gender clinic. We could explore that, but the idea was first, before doing anything, was to rule out anything more serious, most importantly the heart palpitations, to make sure that there's nothing serious going on with my heart. So they've referred me for a 7-day heart trace, where I go to the hospital, I have this heart thing fitted, I walk around with it for a week, and I go back and it shows them what my heart is doing over time and rules out anything dangerous. They're also going to do a 24-hour blood pressure test because I've got high blood pressure to check that that's okay. In the meantime, she prescribed propranolol, which I've had before for anxiety, but this can also help with palpitations. In terms of the headaches, she didn't know, but she said she thought that perhaps if the propranolol helped my heart, it might help my headache. I left the surgery feeling a little bit unsure. See, it's so difficult. I worry because so many professionals come into contact with me and see my huge mental health history and assume that this is because of my mental health. Because it sounds like it, doesn't it? Palpitations, tiredness, sweating. Sounds like anxiety. But I've lived with anxiety for years. There is nothing I'm anxious about at the moment. You know, I've really simplified my life because I'm having to, because of this ill health. There's nothing stressing me other than worrying about what's going on. It's not like it's huge anxiety, you know. So it just felt a little bit like that was being said to me again. But at least I'd got the ball rolling in terms of having the heart checked. My dad died of cardiomyopathy. My mum had numerous strokes, angina, heart problems, you know, and she died a couple of years ago, as you know. So I just wanted to make sure there's nothing serious going on with my heart. Because when these palpitations are happening, I just think, how can there be nothing wrong with my heart? You know, this isn't just like one or two weird beats. I've got it now. It's like this really strange, almost like breathless feeling, but not breathless. Like there's some airy weirdness here, like my heart's in my throat. And then that progresses to just like being really aware of my heartbeat. My heart rate doesn't really go up, but I'm just really aware of it. And so that's the biggest worry about everything that I'm going through at the moment, is just to make sure my heart's all right. Yes, I want to get to the bottom of all the other stuff. Why am I so tired? Why have I got headaches? All of these things. But I just want the heart ruled out. So it was great to get that ball rolling. But then out of the blue, middle of last week, I got a text message from the doctor saying, sorry I was called away. I'd really like to see you. Interesting. I said yes immediately to the appointment because I just felt like I hadn't been quite heard enough in the appointment with the assistant. And the more eyes on this, what's going on for me, the better really. So I can get to the bottom of this to either find the answer or the solution. I just want to know that I'm okay and how I can either get rid of this or manage it, right? So I said yes. So glad I did. Honestly, this doctor is wonderful. He was so good. I was in there quite a while with him, probably a good half an hour. And, okay, I'm just trying to explain everything he said because it is all a bit much to take in at the moment. So, basically, he wants to look through all of my individual symptoms because, you know, as a doctor, that's what he wants to do. He wants to make sure that he's ticked every box, crossed every T, you know, all that kind of stuff, made sure that he's checked everything. So he's happy that I'm getting the heart trace and everything like that done. But he said he doesn't really think that anything will come back with a problem because of how strange these symptoms are. None of these symptoms relate. For example, if I had an issue with my heart, it wouldn't be causing the sweating and the tiredness, for example. If I had a problem with sweating, it wouldn't cause the fatigue. Do you see what I mean? So what he's basically saying is, these symptoms don't make sense as clusters to go together. Nothing that I could possibly be diagnosed with would explain why I've got all those symptoms. It would be very weird if I had 4 distinct different illnesses going on at the same time. And that makes sense, you know. I've known that because, well, I've actually only really started to become aware of how weird this is recently because I've been so blinkered in thinking this has got to be my hypothyroidism because it all started at roughly the same time, that's where I've been focused. It must be my hypothyroidism. But now, of course, my focus has changed because I know my hypothyroidism is fine, and yet these symptoms are remaining and getting worse. You know, so I've kind of woken up to the idea recently that there is something else going on. And I absolutely agree with him that it does seem weird how these symptoms are grouped together. I did say this was going to be a waffle. So, what he's thinking it is a functional disorder. That none of these symptoms will come back as having any cause, that there is this functional disorder. And functional disorders are things like IBS, fibromyalgia, and chronic fatigue. The thing I'm in denial about. This doctor was incredible at explaining all of this and really reiterating the fact that he's not saying it's in my head, because I think he could really pick up on how much I've been kind of brushed aside as just having mental health challenges and not being taken seriously. He said this is a real thing. He said it's just how your body processes stuff is messed up. So he was really great at explaining all of this to me in terms of the conscious brain and the unconscious brain and the nervous system. I'm not even going to try and explain it how he did, because he was amazing, but he helped me to see that what often happens, especially in stuff like chronic fatigue, you'll have a past trauma to the body, either an illness or an upheaval, and let's face it, I've been through my fair amount, you know, overcoming all of my past, getting clean and sober 11 years ago, going through gender transition. I've completely changed my life, gone through massive upheaval over the last 11 years, started my own business and stuff as well. I have worked hard and worn myself out a lot, I know that. So perhaps this is all contributed to an issue with my nervous system and something he called the adrenal axis, something like that. I need to do lots more research. So it's real, it's just my body's now reacting to stuff that's happened in the past. I drew a picture from what he drew, I don't know if you can see it. I'll get better at understanding this stuff. So, what I've been dreading is what we were talking about, chronic fatigue syndrome. I mean, with what we were talking about, it does make complete sense. He also did a screening for chronic fatigue syndrome, I can't remember what it was called now. And, you know, I score really highly on all of that for all the different things that it presents with. So yeah, it's not the news that I wanted, and I'm still not ready to say it is what it is. I told him the truth. I said I don't want this to be chronic fatigue syndrome. I've been through so much over all my life, you know, over the last 11 years, my life has been getting so much amazingly better. My life is incredible now, and the idea of having something so disabling that's going to really impact my life is not one I'm quite ready to accept yet. I will feel better when the heart stuff has been done. I'm really pleased that he was so good at saying, as a doctor, I want to make sure we've unearthed every single rock. So that's why we're doing all these other tests as well. But he's really of the mind that unless I've got something incredibly rare, this is likely to come back, because everything else negative, and it's going to be chronic fatigue syndrome. So for now, it's just a case of probably in 6 to 8 weeks' time, when all of these tests have been gone through, that we'll know what to do from there. I haven't got a clue at the moment, and I don't think I can even think about it at the moment. I think I need all of these tests to come back to see that they're all negative, to know that my heart's okay and that I'm okay, before I'm ready to then look at what I can do for chronic fatigue syndrome, if that makes sense. We did look at a few preventative things today, though. The headaches I get are horrendous. He thinks they're a kind of migraine by the sounds of how they present. So he suggested that what I can do for that is take a preventative medicine, and actually propranolol that the assistant gave me will be good for that. But I'm not supposed to take it yet, because I need to have a proper heart trace done. If I take propranolol, it will affect how my heart presents. So once that's been done, I can then take 80 milligrams of propranolol a day, which should help to prevent the migraines, which would be great. If I can start eliminating some of the symptoms, it'll be easier. Because when I've got fatigue, palpitations, sweating, and headaches, I honestly, and I'm sorry this sounds dramatic, I feel like I'm dying. It's that bad, I think. How can I feel this ill and not be dead? It's that bad. So that's great. That's great that we can do something about that. He said I can probably help with the sweating as well. There's medication you can take for sweating that could help, but let's just take it one step at a time at the moment. He suggested Tai Chi. Now I meditate and I do yoga. He said that there's no real benefits shown with chronic fatigue and yoga, but there is with Tai Chi. So he's given me a link to some free Tai Chi videos. I'm going to try it. If you've been watching on Insta lately, someone suggested lying on the floor with my legs on the wall. I will do anything right now to try and get through this and round this, over this, you know. So anything. I will try anything. Of course, the pacing is making a huge difference. The pacing is, I was hoping the pacing might just be temporary, but this is going to be ongoing now. So I want to talk a bit more about how this is affecting me going forward. I know I made a video last week about how I'm going to change the job I'm doing, but I want to talk a bit more about it because this is bringing up lots of feelings about burnout, doing too much. I spoke last year about, I had some counselling, and I realised that in mum dying I'd kind of oversaturated myself in business stuff to hide from it, but I also saw the social media dilemma and started to become aware that in my content creating becoming a business, I'm starting to do things that don't really sit well with my morals. You know, the over chasing of numbers and the sharing all the time and all of that business that was doing my head in. And I did limit stuff, didn't I? But I think there's another layer to go. So I want to make a video soon about burnout stuff and thoughts that are coming up about all of that. But I just want to share this today as a bit of a waffle as to what's happening, where we are with Diagnosis, and yeah. You know what? I share all this, don't I? And this isn't the first time that I've had a hurdle, is it? Let's face it. Do you remember when I had the realisation that despite approaching the end of my degree, I was nowhere near ready to be a counsellor, and I had a breakdown about it and was so distressed, but that led to me going, why don't I become self-employed? And then a whole new world opened up. So I know that no matter what's going on, I will find a way through it and something new will open up from it. But at the moment, I'm overwhelmed about it all and I'm upset and I'm scared. But that's okay too. You can hold both things. I always talk about this, but it's possible to hold two things. My life is amazing and I'm really ill. Those two things can coexist. You know, one thing doesn't make everything else bad forever. You know, that's always a good thing to hold in mind, and I'm good at that. So challenge is what I'm good at, and sharing it honestly is another thing I'm good at. So expect lots of honesty as we go through this next process. Yeah, that's it. Thanks for watching, folks. Thank you so much for all your love, support and kind words across all my social media and in the comments here. Honestly, there is no such thing as unsolicited advice with this. Please, anything, suggestions, experiences you've had that you're willing to share with me around this sort of stuff, I'm very, very grateful for. I'm so glad that I have this and the ability to connect with you lot, because it helps so much. Love you all. Take care of yourselves. See you on social media and see you next week, hopefully if I'm not too tired, for another video.